Hey, welcome to Startup Dad Headquarters, where we're exploring the intersection between fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and life. And today, Startup Dads Backstage, I'm really excited to have on the show Geoff Woods. So let me tell you a little bit about Geoff. So Geoff is the host of the Mentee Podcast. After hearing the Jim Rohn's quote that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, Geoff set out on a mission to surround himself with high-level CEOs and entrepreneurs. And wait until you hear the folks he has as his mentor. Fast forward, he is now being mentored by many of these heavy hitters, and he publishes the real conversations he has with his mentors on his top business podcast, The Mentee. Geoff has been featured in entrepreneur.com and is considered an authority on building meaningful relationships with high-level influencers and mentors. Geoff, I'm really excited to have you on the show because mentorship is a challenge for a lot of people. Folks think that they could kind of get away without getting a mentor or a coach, and you're basically saying, no, you need a mentor and a coach, and look, I'm going to show you how, and you can actually tune in on the podcast and listen to me speak to my mentors, which is amazing. Geoff, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Welcome to Startup Dad Headquarters.
Hey, thanks so much, Joel. So excited to be here.
Yeah, so I told the audience a little bit about you. We're definitely going to get, this is for Startup Dad Headquarters, so we're definitely going to get into the family aspect of things and the early start of your journey. But before we do, tell us what's really exciting you right now about your business.
What excites me about my business is I'm at the point where I'm really starting to see the impact that it's making. I'm starting to see the people who I'm working with, they're accelerating, they're finding mentors, they're upgrading their connections, and all of a sudden they're surrounded by people who frankly are at the top of their game in their respective fields, and people who they originally thought were just completely out of reach. Why would this person ever talk to me? And all of a sudden they're mentoring them. And like you said, when you've got mentors in your life, everything changes. You feel like someone poured gasoline all over you, just lit you on fire, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that feeling when you start to get those well, in your case, you're getting the direct feedback from the people you're working with. For me, I get a lot of these email messages and Facebook messages on how your podcast is changing individuals' lives and how they're starting to see things differently. So I'm really excited to get into that a little bit more. But before we do, I like to kick off the show with this quote: "No other success can compensate for failure in the home." Geoff, would you agree?
100%. And you know, I'm a pretty open book. I get real vulnerable, and I kind of throw it all out there on my podcast. And I'll share this with you. I mean, last week I'm sitting down with one of my mentors. This guy is a pretty heavy hitter. Have you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, definitely. Love that movie.
Yeah, so this guy was the CEO of that sports agency. It was the largest sports agency in the world at the time. And so I'm sitting down with him. It's Saturday morning. It's 7 a.m. And he asks me on a scale of 1 to 10 how my relationship is with my wife. And I tell him it's a 1. 1 being shit. And man, I can tell you, no matter what I have going on with my business, if things are not good at the home front, nothing else matters, and that's where we focused all our time. And I'll tell you, if he asks me that question right now, I'm at an 8.5. So
nice.
Putting first things first, you know what I mean?
Awesome. I'd love to hear some of the tips that he gave you with that to go from a 1 to 8.5. That's amazing. And you're right. It is first things first. And you have a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter. Tell us a little bit about them to start off the show.
Oh, sure. So my wife is Amy and my daughter is Daphne. I met my wife in the hospital, of all places. My day job is, not like that. My day job is medical device sales. And so I sell the equipment in the hospitals. And I was on a sales call. I pull up to this hospital I never go to. And I'm going to this department that when I do go there, it's always this woman at the front desk who I dread seeing. She is less than a nice person. And I'm turning the corner off the elevator, just bracing myself. And all of a sudden, Amy's sitting there. And I'm like, holy crap, this woman is beautiful. I'm 2.5 weeks single out of a 5-year relationship. And here I am standing in front of this blonde bombshell. And she just goes, can I help you? And I ask her to page my appointment. And she says, who are you? And I said, I'm the bladder scan man. Because at the time I was selling this ultrasound device called a bladder scan. It's as exciting as it sounds, people. And she's just like, okay. So she's trying to figure out the phone system. It's not working. And so I take this as a wonderful opportunity to heckle her. Anyway, she figures it out. I have my appointment on the way back out. I pass her. I just thank her. And she gives me one of those smiles, Joel, that you just know. She's into you. And here I am. I'm getting into the elevator. Doors start closing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Geoff, if you don't do something now, you will never see her again. At the very last minute, I shove my arm in the elevator doors, hits my arm, open up. I power walk up to her, ask her out, and she lifts up a sticky note and hands it to me. And it already had her number written down.
Oh, that's awesome.
While I was in the operating room, she was planning on asking me out, but she chickened out.
Wow.
I was asking her dad for permission 5 months later. We were engaged 8 months later, and turns out it was an engagement night baby made in Thailand. So got her a little onesie that said that. And that's when Daphne came into my world. And it's just been an awesome ride ever since.
Wow, that is an amazing story. They could make a movie out of that one for sure. You know, while you were talking about the bladder scan, man, I was thinking of that movie with Will Smith, like Happiness Ever After or something like that?
I know what movie you're talking about.
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. My job is not that different from that, except I'm in the hospitals. And I'm in scrubs. I'm in scrubs right now.
Nice. That is an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. We love to hear those kind of stories. So, Geoff, how are you balancing? You know, you have your beautiful wife. You have Daphne. How old is Daphne, you said?
She's 2. She just turned 2 this last weekend.
2 years old, so it's definitely still very dependent.
Yes.
And you're working full-time, part-time, and you have the Mentee Podcast, and it sounds like you have clients as well. How are you balancing everything all together?
I'm balancing it better and better every day is the answer. Let me tell you, this is it right here. And I'm going to be featured in entrepreneur.com discussing this exact subject. But I realize that I have so many things between the day job, the podcast, launching a business out of it, let alone giving my family the time that they need and deserve, my friends and myself. Like, what's sleep? What's that? Right. And so I realized I needed a system, Joel. I needed a system for identifying what the highest impact and income actions were that I needed to be taking and how to decide what to do. And so do you want me to go into this?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So for any of you dads out there who are listening, who you're struggling to balance your time or you want to get more done in a day, these are 3 productivity hacks that I was able to develop based on the counsel of my mentors. And the first thing that you need to do, and I do this every single night, I get a blank piece of paper. I sit down at my desk and I ask myself, what are the highest income and impact actions I need to be taking for my day job? And I write them down. What are the highest income and impact actions I need to take for my business? And I write them down. What are the highest impact actions I need to take for my family and my relationships? I write them down. And the same thing, the highest impact actions I need to take for myself personally. And I write them down. So now what you've done, if you think of the 80-20 rule, you've identified those 20% activities that are going to give you the 80% of the results. These aren't just the little minute tasks. These are the big tasks, the little hinges that swing the big doors. You with me so far?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all documented for everything that matters in my life. Day job, business, family, personal. Mm-hmm. Now what you got to do is you got to prioritize them. Because what do you do first? You can just go haphazardly through the list, but that's not effective. And so I ask myself another question. If I could accomplish just one of these tomorrow, which one would I do that would make me feel like my day was a success? I put a 1 next to it. And then I continue down the list. If that one were already accomplished, what's the next thing? If I were to accomplish one thing, what would it be that would make my day a success? And I fully prioritize everything on that list. Now, if you're with me, you're imagining like this is a lot of stuff. And this actually takes some time to do this. I mean, you literally have to dedicate 15 to 30 minutes every night to do this. Mm-hmm. But when you do this, it really sets you up for success. But here's the thing. I was doing these 2. And I still felt like a chicken with my head cut off. I still felt like a professional juggler because I had so many freaking balls up in the air and they just kept coming crashing down. This is when I understood the concept of time blocking. And I learned about this, a guy I interviewed on my podcast, Jay Papasan. Yep. He wrote a book called The One Thing. Are you familiar with it?
No, Gary Keller.
Gary Keller, exactly. So
Yeah,
Jay and
yeah, yeah.
Gary Keller of Keller Williams, they're partners, and they wrote this book. And so I met Jay and formed a relationship with him, and he's coaching me on this, saying, all right, Geoff,
Wow.
here's what you need to do. These are the type of guys I'm running with, by the way. These are the guys in my podcast. And so he's saying, look, you've got to sit down and you've got to block your time, because you schedule appointments for the doctor, you put it on your calendar, right? Well, yeah. You schedule an appointment with a client, you put it on your calendar, right? Yeah. Well, what about the vital actions for yourself that you need to take? Schedule appointments with yourself. And so what I do is, once I've got the list and I've got it prioritized, I open up my calendar, I say, all right, number one, when am I going to get it done? And I block the time out. Number two, when am I going to get it done? And I block the time out. That way, Joel, when I wake up the next morning, at no point in time throughout that day do I ever have to ask myself, what should I be doing right now?
Right.
It's already been decided. And not only is it decided, it is the highest impact action I could possibly be taking in that moment. And I will tell you, you get more done in one day if you do this than you have gotten done in 3 weeks before. Try it.
Nice. I absolutely love that, and I love the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, and the 3 steps that you just outlined are amazing. Now, here's the question: as a dad, 2-year-old, things are gonna happen, right? So you wake up, the entire bed is soiled, or she's feeling sick, fever. What happens? How you adjust when those unknown or unexpected things get thrown at you?
Oh man, the focus pants come on and it's time to take action, And maybe that's just me. But in those moments, I snap into action. Nothing else matters. You knock it out. And if you have to reschedule things or reprioritize, you just do. That's life. But, it's your family. It's your baby. You got to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Now, do your wife works as well?
No, she's at home.
Okay, so Amy's at home.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my question for you before we go into the next segment of the show. Besides throwing out the trash, what's one thing you do in the house that is not traditionally considered a man chore?
Ironing. I am an ironing master. My wife refuses. And here's the thing. It's not that I enjoy ironing. I happen to be good at it, but I look for synergies. And I learned this from one of my mentors. I use that as time for personal development. So while I'm ironing, headphones are in. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm doing something to enrich myself. So I actually look forward to ironing, because it's my time to improve myself. One of my mentors, his time is taking out the trash. He used to hate it. He used to dread it until he found that was time. That was 2 minutes of his day that he could meditate and center himself. Now he looks forward to taking out the trash.
Nice. I love that. I love that, because you have to find those little, I have 3 young girls, all under the age of 7. And sometimes, just hiding in the bathroom just to get that minute or 2 minutes to kind of regroup yourself is important, because it gets crazy, especially when you're expected to. I try to start my days at 4 a.m. Last week I started my day at 4 a.m. I have my workout routine. I go out for a quick 20-minute walk. That's when I have my headset in, and I walk 10 minutes one way, 10 minutes the other way. We live in a development, so it's pretty hilly. So I actually I have my little Fitbit monitor, and I'm able to get my heart rate up to a fat burning zone. So I come back in, then I do this hot shower, and then I've started doing that Tony Robbins cold tub thing.
Yes.
And so I jump in the cold tub for 20 minutes, and then 5:30 in the morning, my 2-year-old is knocking on the bathroom door, and I'm like, what the heck? So it throws off my entire Zen moment, my entire focus and everything, because I'm expecting her to wake up at 7:30 in the morning, not at 5:30. So then everything gets thrown off, and then you have to, like you said, you have to regroup. You have to you have to pick up your focus, because it's like, okay, I got to boom, 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 and when am I gonna get these things done? So yeah, I love that.
Right.
So this is Startup Dad headquarters. So we want to get into your start. We know you're still working the day job, but at some point you decided, hey, I want to do something different. I want to stop. In my case, I want to stop working on somebody else's dreams. I want to start building my own dreams. And the quote we love is, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Geoff, take us back to the initial steps of your Startup Dad journey.
That's a great question, Joel. So here I am. It's the end of 2013, to set the stage. I'm doing medical device sales, which is a job that I love. I actually sell a product that saves lives. I've been in the patient's room working with the doctors, and man, is it cool. And I've left the hospitals in tears, just overjoyed with emotion. I thought I was going to do this forever, frankly. And at the end of 2013, one of my colleagues, he was 35 at the time, had a stroke. And luckily he survived, but here I am with a wife, a brand new baby, a mortgage, and a great job, but realizing what would happen to my family, to my wife and daughter, my loves, if something happened to me. I don't have any passive income. What would happen to them? I didn't like that answer. And what would happen if something happened to my job where all of a sudden it wasn't as lucrative? Well, something did happen. The very next week, my company made a change in my commission structure, and overnight, income slashed by 40%.
Wow, that's crazy.
In that moment, I set a personal commitment that under no circumstance would I allow a company, while albeit I work for a great company and I still love working for them and I plan on working them for a long time, but they shouldn't be able to have that type of control over me to the point where we have to make radical adjustments in our standard of living because they decided to. I don't think so. And so that's when I heard the Jim Rohn quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I looked at who those 5 people were. And I encourage you who are watching and listening, who are the 5 people that you actually spend the most time with? And where do you want to be? Do you want to be your own boss? Do you want to have enough passive income that you're financially free? Well, here's the tough question to ask yourself. Are those people you're spending time with right now, do they already have those things? Are they already living that life? And for me, that answer was no. And I'll be clear, those people are still in my life. They're still dear friends, but when I seek counsel and advice from people on how to launch a business, I now go to a different group of people. I go to the people who have already done it.
Nice. Yeah, I love that because, you know, we've as entrepreneurs and listening to podcasts and reading books, you've heard the Jim Rohn's quote thrown out in different ways, different formats. And a lot of times you're left wondering, well, what happens to my friends and family and those folks that are in my life right now? So I love the fact that you're clarifying, listen, those are still your friends, those are still your family. You may be spending a little bit less time with them, but when you're seeking for counsel, looking to make a major change, building your business and increasing that income, there are those individuals that you need to be able to pick up the phone and contact and
right.
Get some advice.
Exactly.
So how did you arrive at the Mentee Challenge? Because I love the concept. I love what you're doing. You're saying, hey, I'm not just the president or the CEO of the Mentee Challenge, but I'm also a client. I'm showing you along my journey, and at the same time, as I'm learning, I'm teaching.
Right. So I set this intention to surround myself with people who are where I want to be. You fast forward 8 months, and all of a sudden I've got people like the guy who ran the sports agency that Jerry Maguire was based on. I got the former executive vice president of Tony Robbins mentoring me directly. The guy who helped Tony build his business is helping me build mine. All of a sudden, I've got these caliber of individuals in my life. And one of my friends said, Geoff, why don't you record these conversations and do a podcast? And I went, oh my gosh. In that moment, Joel, I actually felt selfish. I am so blessed to have these people mentoring me, and I'm accelerating so fast. But I kept them to myself. And so what I did, I just started recording those conversations and broadcasting them to the world. So everybody else who normally doesn't get a chance to run with these level of people can now have access to them, can get the exact same lessons, the exact same guidance, the exact same counsel that I am receiving on a weekly basis, you can get now as well. And that's what the Mentee is all about. It's giving you access to the right mentors and the right ideas. Nice.
I love that. And how do you now take that into a business? So how is this a business? Like, I mean, yeah, now we're
Absolutely.
listening to you. How are you turning that into a business?
So the podcast is a platform, right? It allowed me to grow a following of people who know, like, and trust me. And what I did is I actually started my business backwards. I didn't start with an idea and then put a business plan together and bring it to market. I started with the customer, my podcast listeners, and I got on the phone with them. I interviewed them. What is the pain that you are experiencing right now? Why are you following me? Why are you listening to me? What do you think I can do that can help you? And every single one of them said the same thing. They wanted to know how they could go out, find their own heavy-hitting mentors, how they could upgrade their personal connections. Every single one of them. And so I said, well, if I were to develop a solution, what would it look like? And they're like, well, we'd love an online course that has videos and action guides. Okay, great. I could do something like that. What would you want me to teach you? And they all said the same thing. I want a module that goes into mindset, because I have all these limiting beliefs like, why would a heavy hitter talk to me? What could I possibly say to them that would make them interested to me? What could I offer them that would be valuable to them, that would make it worth their time? All these things that we all feel. I felt them too.
Right.
They wanted to know what to say when they're face to face, how to even find places these people hang out, how to reach them on email, how to follow up with them and build a relationship. Just all of these things people are consistently sharing with me. They gave me the idea for the business. They told me what the modules would be in the course, and then they told me how much they'd would be willing to pay for it, and then they were willing to pay for it up front.
Nice.
And I pre-sold enough of them to the point where all my cost of development was fully raised, and then and only then did I decide to launch the business. Because now what's my risk? I've got money in hand. I've got customers in hand.
Right.
It's go time, baby. And
Nice.
so that's when I'm launching the 7-figure network coaching program. And tonight I even have a call with my founding members where I've released, 3 modules. They've gone through them, and tonight they're going to give me their feedback and say, here's what I love. Here's what I'd like to have changed. That way, by the time when I reopen this coaching program in September of this year, it's going to be fully enhanced based on feedback from people just like you. And these people are seeing results. It's so rewarding.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the idea of beta launching, kind of testing and validating, speaking to the customer, getting them to basically pay for the product before you even create the product and spend all the time creating a membership site, a website, all the components that need to go into it, and all the videos, obviously, which takes up a lot of your time to do all that work. Now, I know you have on your website, and I want you to give us all of it, because I want folks to head on over to your website and opt into your email. But you have I think it's 5 steps to get your mentor, something to that effect.
It's 7 steps to creating a 7-figure network is the new one.
There's a new one. Okay, I think I saw the old one then. I'm sorry, my part.
No
so
problem.
Can you give us the top 3. What are the top 3 in that 7?
So I'll run you through the first 3. And if you were to take action on these 3, sincerely, if you were to take action on them, you will see results. So the first thing that you need to do is realize that a mentor or any influencer can really serve you best in their area of expertise. Meaning, I'm not going to go to a person who's a speaking coach and ask for counsel on real estate investing, unless he or she happens to be a real estate investor and a successful one. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So step 1, get clarity on what it is that you want. And can I role play with you, Joel, live, just so people can get a flavor for this?
Let's do it.
Bam. All right. What is one thing you are working on right now? What's the big thing that you're working on that you really need help with?
Sponsorship.
What do you mean by that?
Podcast sponsorship.
Okay. And if you had to imagine the ideal person who could mentor you in this space, describe
John Lee
them.
Dumas.
Okay.
John Lee Dumas.
All right. So he needs John Lee Dumas. So this is actually perfect. This is very simple. Joel has clarity on what it is he wants. He needs sponsorship, and he specifically needs counsel from John Lee Dumas. You got that clarity, right?
Yep.
Boom. That's 1. Step 2, talk about it. And when I say talk about it, I mean consistently. How many times do you pick up the phone in a day and talk to a friend, or maybe you talk to a coworker or a family member, and the conversation started like, hey, Joel, what's up? Not much, Geoff. What's up with you? Or what's new? What's going on? The answer is not much. It's almost all of us, and I'm guilty of it too. I still do it, and I coach on this stuff, and I still do it some of the time. That is a missed opportunity. When you pick up the phone and you talk to me, Joel, and I say, Joel, what's going on, man? And you, instead of saying not much, you say, you know what, Geoff? A lot. The podcast is going awesome, and now I'm focusing on sponsorship, and I'm actually trying to connect with this guy, John Lee Dumas, because he's a badass. What's going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
Something magical happens when you share with people specifically what you want and where you need help. We have an innate desire to help. And so what happens is I start racking my brain. Am I John Lee Dumas? I am not. So I cannot help you. I'm not your solution. Do I know John Lee Dumas? I do not know him personally. So I can't help you there. Do I know someone who knows John Lee Dumas? I do. Would I be happy to make that connection for you? I would. So you just won by sharing that with me. So 4 things can happen. 1, the person you're asking for is that person. You're talking to them. 2, they know the person. They'd consider making a connection. 3, you've planted a seed. And while they're not the person and they don't know them, they would consider making that connection. Or 4, they don't do anything. At which point, what did you lose, Joel?
Right.
Nothing. If I promise you, for those of you watching and listening, if you just do this today, set an intention when you finish watching this or listening to this to identify what you want, call your best friend. And find a way to weave it into the conversation. Ask them what's up. They're going to say not much. What's up with you? And I want you to say, you know what? A lot. I've been interested in blank. And shut your mouth. See what happens.
Nice. Love it. And number
right.
3?
And number 3 is you'll probably see results if you do those first few things. But I can tell a lot by the fact that you follow Joel and his podcast. You're the type of person who wants results fast. And if you want results fast, you have to get out of your house. You have to get off your assets, and you have to go hang out where these people hang out. So for you, Joel, you'd have to ask yourself, where would John Lee Dumas potentially hang out? Well, pretty sure he's going to end up speaking at a lot of these podcast conferences, right?
Absolutely.
Well, then I would make a point to be there. And when he's on stage, because he likely would be on stage, I would be in a 3-point stance at the end of the room. So when he finishes, I'm about ready to tackle him when he's running off stage. And by the way, I do this for reals. This is how I get in front of all these people who end up becoming my mentors. I go to these conferences. These are the people who are on stage. These are the experts. I talk to them as soon as they come off stage, and I find a way to show them that I'm interested in them, and I form a relationship.
That's awesome. I love that, and I can't wait to. I'm actually going to opt in to get the other 4 steps because I love just those 3 alone. I think it's absolutely on par and makes so much sense. And I think, and the other thing that I love that you talked about, and I can see why your audience would specifically ask about it, is that whole mindset piece. What do I have to offer? Who am I? Why am I good enough to be able to reach out to a John Lee Dumas or the various individuals that you're connecting with and having as mentors. So that's huge. Now let me ask you, how did so obviously you had your daughter, 2013 you said your daughter was already newborn, and you're telling your wife now that, hey, I want to, in addition to my job, I want to start doing this next thing. Now that's a whole huge piece of time that's being taken away from the family. How would that conversation go in terms of support?
Well, let me double down on you. I had just switched jobs, so I was starting a day job. Daphne is born. We're getting married 4 months later. We're selling our condo, and we're building a house, all in a 6-month period. So what did that conversation look like? Here's the deal. The income gets slashed. We start to feel the pain. Every single month we are hemorrhaging cash. And I look at my wife and I'm honest with her and I say, I don't know how long this rainbows and sunshine life that we've been living is going to last. I don't know if it's ever going to get back to the way it was before. And I need to launch this because I want your security. I want to be able to give you everything you want, to be able to provide everything for Daphne, to give her the best shot in life so that we can truly enjoy what this world has to offer. And I'm going to need to take the next few years to really buckle down and do this. And I need your support. It's not going to be easy, but I need you to be in the boat because we will, I promise you right now, we will have the life of our dreams. But we're going to have to sacrifice for the next few years. Are you with me? Are you with me? And she was like, no. She said yes.
Awesome. That's awesome. And did you say it in that exact same voice?
Yeah, kind of, probably. I got up, I put on my spandex suit, I kissed my lucky, and I was like, feel the rhythm, feel the ride. What's next? It's cash flow time. Go! Yeah, no. Cool runnings. There you go, boy.
That's also that you could, that you could see the vision, and basically you're basically saying to her, listen, let me lead, follow me. I see a vision where we will have the life of our dreams, everything that we want for our daughter, 529, college tuition, all that kind of stuff taken care of, the house of our dreams, which it sounded like you guys were building it, and saying, hey, come with me. How do you gain that level of confidence? You seem like a very confident person to begin with, but how do you get enough confidence to sit down, look at your wife, your beautiful wife, right in the eye and say, if you follow me in the next 2 to 3 years, we will get there?
Wow, what a great question. A lot of this is just within me. But I get that not everybody is the extrovert that I am, and not everybody has that level of confidence and conviction that comes so naturally to me. But I will tell you, when you hear the stories of all the great entrepreneurs, there was a compelling event. There was a deep pain that was felt. When you feel and experience that compelling event, fear goes out the window because you're staring it straight in the face. And it's like, it's fight or flight. And in those moments, you just got to fight. And you've got to realize your spouse has to be on board. And enough of my mentors in that moment shared with me, the number one thing you need to do is make sure that your wife is on board. The number one thing. And that's partially why I got so vulnerable and laid it out for her like that. Because I probably would have just started taking action and she wouldn't have been on board. And even though I'll be completely transparent with you, Joel, even though I had that conversation with her, it's still really rough. I mean, even last night, I'm here in my office working till 11:30 at night, and she just wants me to come to bed with her. She just wants me to sit on the couch and to watch TV with her. And it's so hard. It pains me to have to say, I can't, honey. I can't. I got to buckle down. I got to get this done. Even when she gets mad and we start to fight because of it, it's like, it still happens. But in those moments, I got to take the time out and sit down with her and just be like, you know what, babe? Here's why we're doing this. Retell the vision, recast the vision, get her bought in again. Let her know how much I care, and that as much as it pains her to not have me there, it pains me even more to have to say no. But here's where this is going, and here's what we're able to do. Look at how far we've come, and I can taste the finish line. I can taste it. We're so close. Stick with me.
Nice. Have you failed in anything, Jeff?
Yes, every day. I fail to put my shoes on. Constantly. But you know what? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. What is failure? I firmly believe that if you take action and things don't turn out the way that you want, that's not failure as long as you learn from it. And every single time that I take action and things don't work out, I make a sincere intention and point to learn from it so that I don't have to repeat that mistake. And at that point, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. Sometimes very expensive lessons, by the way. So yes and no.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. I wanted to get into real estate investing. And here I am. I'm going to take action. I'm going to run through walls because that's the kind of guy that I am. And so I start getting into escrow on some properties. And I start getting some of my family interested in it. And they want to come in on it with me. And we put our money into a pool and go out to buy these properties. And one day before I'm supposed to close, I find out it's in a flood zone. And I pull out of escrow. But in the process, we lose almost $10,000 because of fees and, breach of contract and all these other things. That's a failure. I mean, I was trusted with money from family and I lost some of their money. Thank God I got out before we closed, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I thought that I did. And that was certainly a failure. More recently, allowing our financial position to get to the state that it got. My company slashes my commission rate and we start hemorrhaging cash month over month. And I keep thinking, you know what? I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to get a big check. The business is going to get going. Things are going to turn around. In the meantime, vacation here, buy fancy thing here. We get to the point where we actually almost run out of money. Bank account almost hits zero. Before I woke up and said, enough's enough, Jeff. You are living way too lavish of a lifestyle. We are living well beyond our means, and we should not be doing that. We need to make a change. And I take that on me. It's not my wife's fault. I didn't keep our finances in check. That was an absolute failure, but it's also the greatest lesson I've learned in the last year, because now my wife and I have a platform of values when it comes to money to stand on, that as I truly begin to amass wealth, I have no question that money will always stay with me. It will always grow. I will never be in this position again. And so for that, I'm grateful.
Nice. What's one of the sacrifices that you talked about, and I know the struggle that you're talking about with your wife wants you to come to bed, and she wants you to just come sit down and watch a movie with her, and you know that if I spend that 2 hours watching the movie, I could be doing something in the business, setting up social media stuff, marketing, making connections, sending out emails. There's so many things you could do. I mean, just the 20 minutes that I take to go work out, that walk that I talk about, is a struggle, because in my mind I'm like, that 20 minutes I could be doing something for the business, right? Because 20 minutes is important, especially when you're a dad and you got a lot of things going on. So what are some of the sacrifices besides the ones that you mentioned? What other big sacrifices are you making in order to make this all happen?
And again, I'll shift this, because it's very easy to feel that way. Like, hey, it's 20 minutes or it's 2 hours. That's not a good use of my time. And frankly, I felt this way up until a week ago. When one of my mentors gave me a giant 2x4 across the head and was like, hey, your family's number one and you got to make her important and feel important. When I talked at the beginning about your time and identifying what the highest income and impact actions are, family was a part of that. And just realizing that when you can sit down and truly plan out your day to say, hey, I'm taking action on the day job, I'm taking action on the business, I'm taking action in the family life, and I'm taking action for myself personally. And when you actually schedule it out, when it's time to sit down and watch The Bachelor with my wife for 2 hours, because I am a Bachelor fan, I've blocked that time out. And I can allow myself and grant myself permission to do that because I've planned it out. Make sense?
Make absolute sense. And are you able to also shut off your mind? Like, when I say shut off, you know what I mean? Like actually really be there with her.
Constant struggle.
Yeah.
Constant struggle every day. And this is where meditation has really helped, just in terms of the power of focus. And again, if you truly do plan your day out the way that I talked at the beginning, it's a lot easier to be present, because you have spent literally 15 minutes to a half hour the night before putting a lot of thought into what you're going to do every hour of that day. And so when it's time to watch The Bachelor, I am so happy.
Now, Geoff, we're entering the final segment of the show, and I like to call this the rapid fire handyman segment. And this is where I quickly reach into your toolbox. Well, we quickly reach into your toolbox, and you provide us with some very useful tips and tools for the Startup Dad community. Are you ready to rock?
Ready. Let's go.
All right. What's your number one time management hacker tool?
It's called a calendar.
Digital or physical?
Digital. I'm a big fan of it. It's everywhere. It's on my PC. It's on my Mac. It's on my iPad. It's on my iPhone. It's everywhere. And all the things I talked about at the beginning, getting it into the calendar. That's it.
Is it synced with Amy's?
Yes, I have a family calendar.
Nice. What's one way you manage your health?
What's one way I manage my health? Meditation, actually.
Okay. And what's one book every startup dad should read? Actually, if you could give us a business one and from a fatherhood standpoint.
Ooh, Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Everybody's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but Cashflow Quadrant really shifted my perspective. Highly, highly, highly recommend that. And in terms of fatherhood, I actually, you know what? Love languages, the 5 love languages. Because being able to connect with your significant other is paramount, and to understand his or her love language and be able to speak it is vital.
Absolutely. So the final question, I know you have to run. This one's a little bit longer, but it really typically produces really powerful answers. And here it is. On the other side of the broadcast is a startup dad who at this point is fired up and ready to roll. But as soon as this podcast is over, he's going to shut down his laptop or put away his phone, and and life is going to happen. And by next week, he'll find himself back into the day-to-day minutia of things. What would you say to that dad to inspire him beyond this broadcast?
Here's what I do. I go through the same thing. Whip out your phone, open your calendar, and schedule an appointment with yourself to take the action that you were planning on taking. at a moment when you think you can take it, and make sure that you set it so that it's an alert. And if it's an action later in the day, sometimes I'll also set an alarm as well so that my phone will ring and 1 minute later the calendar thing pops up. I am a space cadet. I have way too many things going on. So if there's an action I want to take, I put it in my calendar. I time block it off. And that way it's in there. Just it's a system to remind yourself.
Awesome, Geoff. Please let startup dads know where they can connect with you, find out more about you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Perfect. So the podcast is called The Mentee, Mentee. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've put together an action guide for you, because I get it. You're a dad. You got a family. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with this. And if I could help shorten your path so that you can suddenly be surrounded with really high-level influencers that frankly will change your life, this will be the transformational moment when everything just changes. It's called The 7 Steps to a 7-Figure Network, and these are the actual 7 steps that I took to form relationships with the high-level people that I have deep relationships with now. And if you want that, you just go to www.findthebestmentors.com, and that's mentors with an S, it's plural, findthebestmentors.com, and you can get it right there.
Awesome, Geoff. Thank you again for your time and for an amazing interview.
Awesome. Thanks, Joel. We still recording?